Hi friends, welcome back. So the Binance guy is going to prison. We're talking about CZ or Jiao Chengpeng, however you want to say. He's going to get 4 months. I want to talk about this, and we're going to talk about the consumer in the USA. I got some interesting news from McDonald's and Starbucks. And if you're interested in these kind of things, hang on out and let's go over it together. So first, the Binance situation. So the guy pleaded guilty before, and then they were trying to figure out the prison sentence. So the prosecution, they wanted 3 years. Prosecutors requested 3 years of prison time, doubled the sentence guidelines of 18 months. So they wanted as much as you could possibly get. And they're saying here, this is from the prosecutors, because of the scope and ramifications of Zhao's misconduct were massive. And then Zhao's lawyers, I guess, were pretty good. They said here, this is the defense. They said that he deserved no jail time. Because, quote, no defendant in a remotely similar situation, so that would be the Bank Security Act, has ever been sentenced to incarceration. And this is actually the thing that, I'd ask you is, do we punish white-collar crime fairly in the USA? And that's just a question, rhetorical. Essentially, Binance, though, did pay $4.3 billion in fines, so they did have to pay a lot of fines. I guess CZ himself had to pay $50 million in fines, but don't worry, he's going to be fine. He's still got $33 billion to his name, supposedly. I say supposedly because, who knows how much these people have, and it's crypto, could be spread out all around the world. Essentially what it was money laundering stuff is what they got him on. And the concerns is that, I guess, places like Iran, Cuba, Syria, etc., they may be, moving terrorist funds here and there, that kind of stuff, and they may be doing that through crypto. We've talked about this stuff before on the channel. The thing about him was actually really interesting, talking about CZ here. I guess the past 4 months, he's just been like hanging out, running around the USA because he couldn't leave the country, and taking a lot of meetings and planning his future steps. So this will be after he gets out of prison, he'll go and he'll do new businesses, etc. I guess he's gonna get into AI, and he's doing some sort of education thing online. Don't worry, he'll be fine. and again, you guys can make the judgment on that, if he's same or different than SBF. So my feeling on this stuff, I just don't get involved with this crypto things. I do cover it because I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to be pivoting their money to sort of different avenues as this sort of air gets sucked out of the bubble. But we're seeing this in multiple ways. Another example, which is actually kind of interesting, and we shift over to stocks and the economy, etc. Amazon reported decent earnings. The headlines are reading, so they're going to be investing in AI, stuff like that. I think a lot of companies are going to be talking about that kind of stuff. What's interesting though about Amazon is I was reading through their earnings report, and they had a real interesting thing here, which I'll read it in regard to Rivian. It says first quarter 2024 net income includes a pre-tax valuation loss of $2 billion, including a non-operating expense from the common stock investment in Rivian Automotive. So it sounds like they took a big hit on that. And as you guys know, we were talking about the whole Tesla situation, how they fired all the supercharger and team. You can watch my prior video on that. But I think that's interesting because my personal opinion of stuff is that the AI stuff is overhyped. I think companies are going to invest into it, but right now we're maybe valuing it too much. And that's going to be the question is, and again, talking about Amazon now still, is they fired 27,000 employees, and, can they still grow as a company? Evidently, regarding Amazon, I guess their advertising unit is doing well. So it was up 24%. And I don't think people are going to stop, using Amazon. It's one of those companies that we all use, we all know and love. And I remember there was a chart I showed you guys recently where Amazon has basically reached peak saturation. There's only so many more people you can sign up, because essentially what it is not everyone in your household needs an Amazon Prime thing. If just one member of your household has it, then you all have access to that free shipping and stuff. Stocks were down today. The only bright spot was Eli Lilly I see here, but everything else was down. And essentially, Federal Chair Jerome Powell, I think they're going to announce their rate decision tomorrow. I don't think they're going to hike. I don't think they're going to cut. I think they're just going to stand pat. He may come across as more hawkish, though. We'll see. Now, theoretically, they could be serious about raising. I say theoretically. I think it's too chicken to do it, but theoretically they could, because inflation is sticky. The thing that's really interesting, and this is sort of why we talk about rates. It's important, very much so to the market. Goldman released I think it was like a 19-page study recently, and they're saying, hey, if the 10-year yield hits 5%. It'll be really, really tough for equities to move up, being stocks. And if you're curious, the 10 years currently at 4.69. The basic gist of it, guys, is hey, if you can get like those regular returns, safe returns, why not do that, right? And so just keep an eye on this stuff. And this is the same I say all the time, is just don't throw your eggs all in one basket. And have a general, sense of like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm going to be growing my wealth, no risk. And sometimes you do take risks, right? But understand what's going on with the consumers and what's going on with the economy, et cetera. That's why we cover everything every day. I mentioned the Starbucks and the McDonald's stuff because it's actually really fascinating, their earnings reports, because I actually give details. And full disclosure, we are Starbucks, I was say drinkers or shoppers, if you want to say it. We go to Starbucks, and I'm sure you do too. Everyone does. It's interesting though, is that their business is slowing down. Like, do we go to Starbucks every day? We don't. Now, some people do though. Some people are like, wildly addicted to this stuff. Here in Korea though, I can just tell you, where we live here in Busan, there's a lot of competition from not only Korean chains, but we just have like a lot of private, mom and pop stores or shops, I guess, or cafes, or you want to say it. And we actually like to go to these places quite a bit, the private ones. But we still do go to Starbucks because they have great locations. However, their sales are dropping, which is actually really interesting. There's only so much you can grow. So I think you may have a combination of, the consumers just don't want to spend so much, the $6-7 lattes. It's hard to keep growing and get everyone to do that every single day. Plus you got, competition, et cetera. And, is this something, and this is right here, this is the sales decline, right? So it's been growing, and then it says this is the first decline since 2020. So you guys can see it there. This is something that is certainly worrisome for the stock, of course. It's down 22% in the year, but then another 11% in the after hours. So that's been the past year. PE of 23, but they do offer a dividend. So it's not like they don't make money. It's just that they're not growing. And this is some of the talk here. So it says here, this is coming from an analyst. Starbucks reported was perhaps the worst set of results of any large company so far. And on the call coming from Starbucks, they said, hey, the company cut its full 4-year revenue growth to low single digits and signaled adjusted earnings per share may be flat. So basically, they're not really going to grow, right? Their earnings flat, low single digits, 2-3%. So it's not like they're going out of business. They're not going out of business. It's just the growth isn't there. And so I think a company like Starbucks will end up being a dividend company, et cetera. Or, that's the only reason you necessarily buy the stock, not for the growth, but just for the steady income, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because that's what a lot of people will be looking for if growth rates slow around the world. Now, the thing that's interesting is, like, you got to think about, okay, what's going on here? It says here, the company reported a 4% decline in same-store sales in the latest quarter, while analysts expected growth. So that was a disappointment, right? A miss. And then it says in China, same-store sales fell 11%. So really a pullback there. We know that the consumers have been really struggling in China with the whole real estate meltdown. We guys talk about this stuff, but it's interesting how it's sort of like when you talk about the macro and then you get into individual companies, how that reflects. And we're talking about Starbucks. Then it says here, the pullback by consumers was widespread, with the overall number of transactions sinking 6%. Moreover, this is coming from the chief financial officer. They're saying here, quarter results were hurt by colder than usual weather in January that affected store visits across the industry. So I guess if your January is like, bad weather, too cold, I guess you don't go to Starbucks, I guess is how you read that. And it says a more cautious consumer around the world and the conflict in the Middle East. And here's the quote. We were not pleased with the performance this quarter. We were really sharpened our focus and we have a very clear path going forward. Of course, they're going to say that. And the other thing too, I thought was interesting that they're talking about like how could they fix their company and get growing again. I mean, this is what they say. Starbucks wants to boost product availability and cut wait times. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying like I don't ever really go to Starbucks and think I have to wait too long and then therefore I don't want to go anymore. But to be fair to them, for some customers, if you have a couple choices of cafes to go to and you feel like Starbucks is too slow these days because maybe they don't have enough people on staff because they're trying to cut costs, that might be a real concern. And I'd be curious, and this is always fun to talk about this kind of stuff in the community about like, do you not go to Starbucks because you feel like it's too slow? And I guess they want to change the way that they make drinks. We're going to talk about that something regarding with McDonald's is the same thing too as well. And I guess they're going to start doing boba-like drinks this summer. So we'll see if that gets people, and they're going to try to get their app to get you to sign up for memberships and that kind of stuff. McDonald's is doing similar things to try to get consumers as well. Now, McDonald's tends to be more of a defensive stock or defensive company than, say, Starbucks, because I would say, when push comes to shove, people are going to cut their coffees. I would think it, and we'll see it in their sales. But would they cut their McDonald's consumption? So we do know that the lower income consumers are struggling, and actually McDonald's does reference this stuff. And McDonald's is getting hit by boycotts in the Middle East. If you don't know, so basically McDonald's is aiding in the war effort on the Israeli side. So I guess they've been giving discounted meals and even free meals to the Israeli Defense Force. And then countries in the Middle East aren't so keen on that, right? Not thrilled about that. So I guess there's been boycotts, and that does hurt their bottom line. My particular opinion on this stuff, yeah, you're definitely choosing a side there, and you got to, that's the bed that you made, so you got to sleep in it, and we'll see what's that. And I haven't been following McDonald's well enough to know like why they made that decision, so I don't know if they made a statement on that, but that's what they did. So it says here, quote, this is coming from the CEO, and McDonald's now. Consumers continue to be even more discriminating with every dollar that they spend as they face elevated prices in their day-to-day spending, which is putting pressure on quick service restaurant industry. And that's what he said on the conference call. And they say they're going to focus on affordability, supposedly. I say supposedly because like they got problems because they got to pay their workers more. That's been an issue. I think it was California. They're paying them now $20 an hour for fast food, and then I know many places had a hard time getting workers, right? So they had to up their salaries or wages. I should say not salary, but wages. And then also too, I remember there was a thing in like it was at Connecticut where like your meal would be $20. That was the most expensive McDonald's was there, and I remember hearing about that, and people were complaining. It's interesting though that they're trying to change like their stuff. So one of the things that they're doing is says they have a new improved version of their burgers. I guess they're trying to redo their advertising, right? And this is a quote here. It says, clearly everybody's fighting for fewer consumers or consumers that are certainly visiting less frequently, right? So there's a lot more competition for this stuff. And they actually changed the way that they make their burgers. So they're referring to this at the best burger thing. This is the old burger, and I guess this is the new burger. And I'll be curious if you got, and they announced this in February. And if you're curious for anyone who goes to McDonald's regularly, if you notice like any difference in flavor or something like that. I generally go to McDonald's when I travel. I like their breakfast things. It's just what is it, the egg McMuffins? You know, the airport at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and look around for food, and like you're always happy to see McDonald's there. I'm just being real. I'm always happy to see McDonald's when I'm at the airport. It's like the airport food. And then because you know what it is, right? And you're just like, okay, I'll eat that. And then in terms of the burger thing, I actually had one recently, maybe 2 months ago or something like that. But we're here in Korea, and so our menu is different here than in USA, and I'd be curious, around the world, which McDonald's you think is the best. This is for fun to talk about. But anyway, they changed the way they do things, and I'll go over the flavoring. It says here, enter Best Burger Initiative, small tweaks to the change burgers to create a noticeably more flavorful product. So this is what they say. Our goal was to enhance the quality and flavor and overall eating experience of our core burgers, but we wanted to stay true to the taste that everybody loves. So this is what they're doing here. Says McDonald's didn't change the beef patty itself, so they're still changing. They're still keeping the same meat. I think here in Korea though we have better sourcing for our food at McDonald's. The times that I've been there, the burger just seems better than what it is in USA. So I think the sourcing here is different. But in USA, I guess they said they didn't change the patty, but rather how they cook the thing. So this is what they say. They say the grills give the patties a little more breathing room as they cook. So for more flavor, they're saying they're going to cook 6 at a time instead of 8. That's interesting. And maybe, and for those of you who are cooking experts, you can chime in on this if you think that having less meat or less burgers on the grill would improve your flavor. So that's what they're saying. They're also saying here onions too are added before the patties are cooked, so they can soak up the patty's juices. So I wonder if that maybe slowed down their process. So they're putting the onions on the uncooked patty to maybe change flavor. Also says here the cooked patties are kept hotter, so the overall burger is still warm by the time it reaches the customer. So that costs them more energy costs, right? And that's what they're saying. And here's another interesting one. The cheese is melted better, and the buns are upgraded. So they changed their buns, and Big Macs receive more of their special sauce. So whether or not these changes are real and noticeable, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I think it's kind of a funny story. And again, this is the original, and I guess it's the new one. Maybe it's a little bit better. But that's what's going on in the world, and essentially consumers are struggling. So companies are trying to figure out how to get your money and stay in business, of course, and try to grow their revenue and be more attractive to stockholders. So love to hear your thoughts on this and any of the stories we talked about, and I'll catch you next video.